Have you ever wondered how the United States, as we know it today, these tribes expanded and thrived in every corner of buffalo hunting, and their spiritual beliefs that were deep like flint, pottery, and exotic shells were traded and they revered nature, paying homage through their of a tumultuous chapter, bringing about the foundation for a new nation. Gradually, they shaped the America of today, the imprints of these initial unique nation. We are all participants in this, form the cornerstone of our narrative. These tribes expanded and thrived in every corner of the continent. Each tribe, with its own set of practices, traditions, and lifestyles, contributed to the rich cultural diversity that we see today. For instance, the Iroquoian tribes in the Northeast distinguished themselves with their matrilineal societies, advanced political structures, and proficiency in agriculture. On the other hand, the Sioux warriors from the Great Plains were famous for their nomadic lifestyle, their skills in buffalo hunting, and their spiritual beliefs that were deeply rooted in nature. The Pueblo tribes of the Southwest are remembered for their magnificent architectural feats built into cliffs and caves, showcasing their adaptability and creativity. These indigenous cultures blossomed, each carving out a unique existence in the diverse landscapes of North America. They developed complex societies complete with their hierarchy, laws, and social norms. A network of trade routes crisscrossed the continent where items like flint, pottery, and exotic shells were traded and transported over hundreds of miles. Agriculture evolved, with maize, beans, and squash becoming staple crops across tribes. Each tribe fostered a unique bond with its environment, deeply rooted in the flora, fauna, and geographical features of their territories. Their survival, belief systems, societal structures, all were deeply connected to the land they inhabited. Their lives were in tune with the rhythm of seasons, which guided their migrations, movements, and harvests. They revered nature, paying homage through their ceremonies and folklore. The late 15th century brought about a new era. Marked by the arrival of European explorers, this period was characterized by curiosity, ambition, and an insatiable thirst, wealth, and power. The infamous Christopher Columbus, and later the Pilgrims on the Mayflower, made treacherous journeys across the Atlantic in pursuit of new lands and opportunities. Their arrival marked a defining moment in the history of the continent. It signaled the commencement of a tumultuous chapter, bringing about dramatic changes, both positive and negative. As the Europeans settled, they encountered the Native American tribes. Relationships were established, some peaceful, others fraught with tension. Trade flourished, cultures merged, and conflicts ignited. This was the dawn of American history, an era of exploration, colonization, strife, and camaraderie. It was a critical juncture where these diverse worlds collided, impacting the course of history and setting the foundation for a new nation. Gradually, the European settlements gained prominence, leading to the establishment of the 13 original colonies. These colonies were the precursors of the United States of America. Despite being a time of significant cultural exchange, it was also a period of intense conflict and upheaval. As the European settlers expanded their territories, they inevitably clashed with the Native American tribes. This fusion of cultures, the melding of the old world with the new, is what shaped the America of today. The imprints of these initial encounters are evident in our multicultural society, democratic institutions, and the persistent spirit and innovation. As we unearth the pages of American history, we should remember our roots. We should commemorate the diversity and richness of the Native American tribes who first called this land home. We should honor the explorers who risked everything in their pursuit of a dream. From the diverse Native American tribes to the first European settlers, the stage was set for a unique nation. We are all participants in this incredible American tale, a tale that is still being written, a tale that continues to shape us, and a tale that continues to inspire. We are all part of the American dream, a dream forged from the courage, resilience, and ingenuity of those who came before us. And thus, the journey continues. Imagine a time when the United States was not yet a country. First, England ventured across the vast, known to us as Jamestown. This noble spirit of mankind that refuses to be quelled by adverse individual differences, all 13 colonies in the southern colonies with their grand plantations and the constant reminders of their inferior status that were slowly making their way across the Atlantic, they yearned for self-rule, for the right to shape their. As tension with Britain escalated, first, England ventured across the vast uncharted waters of the Atlantic, sending a party of 105 intrepid settlers in search of a new life, a new beginning. These brave souls, filled with hopes and dreams, embarked on a perilous journey, braving the harsh, tempestuous sea to reach a land unknown. They arrived on the shores of what we now call Virginia, establishing the first permanent English settlement on the North American continent, known to us as Jamestown. This marked the dawn of a new era, a fresh chapter in the annals of human history that, unknown to these settlers, would lay the groundwork for the creation of a nation that would rise to become a global powerhouse centuries later. Over the next century and a half, trials and triumphs abounded as the establishment of new colonies continued. Each budding settlement was a testament to human resilience and determination, displaying the indomitable spirit of mankind that refuses to be quelled by adversity. In total, 13 colonies were founded, forming the original 13 that we now recognize as the cornerstone of American history. Each of these colonies developed its own unique features, its own distinctive traits that distinguished it from the others. Some were reliant on agriculture, with farming as the primary driver of their economies. Others were more urbanized, boasting bustling ports and flourishing trade networks. Regardless of their individual differences, all 13 colonies shared one defining similarity: were all under the rule of the British Crown. As these colonies continued to grow and expand, the institution of slavery began to take root. Initially, the colonies were heavily dependent on indentured servants, often impoverished individuals from Europe who agreed to work for a fixed number of years in return for their passage to the New World. However, as the colonies expanded and the demand for labor surged, especially in the southern colonies with their grand plantations requiring extensive manpower, the reliance shifted towards enslaved Africans. This marked the beginning of one of the most regrettable and tragic chapters in American history. As the colonies evolved and expanded, a growing discontent with British rule started to stir. The colonists chafed under the British Crown's oppressive approach to governance. They objected to the imposition of taxes they had no say in, the dismissal of their pleas for fairness, and the constant reminders of their inferior status. The phrase "no taxation without representation" became more than a slogan. It became a rallying cry, a united voice of defiance against their unjust treatment. In the midst of this tumult, the seeds of self-governance were quietly being sown. The Mayflower Compact, a document that the Pilgrims signed before they even disembarked from their ship, was a clear indication of this emerging desire for self-rule. This sentiment was further fueled by the Enlightenment ideas that were slowly making their way across the Atlantic, principles that advocated individual liberty and democratic governance. By the mid-18th century, the tension between the colonies and the British Crown had reached a tipping point. The Crown's attempts to clamp down on the colonies, to tighten their hold and suppress any budding sense of independence, only fanned the flames of rebellion. The colonists had had enough of being treated as second-class citizens in their own land. They yearned for self-rule, for the right to shape their own destiny. The colonists were ready to fight for their rights, their freedom, and their opportunity to be recognized as equals. With each passing day, the tension escalated. It became clear to all involved that a major shift was on the horizon. A revolution that would alter the course of history was imminent. The colonies were on the cusp of a monumental change, a transformation that would lead to the birth of a new nation. As tension with Britain escalated, the colonies were on the brink of a revolution. A revolution that would change the course of history was colonial life, tainting the air with a year would mark a significant milestone in the journey. The colonies united under a shared sentiment. Indians defiantly boarded British ships and bestow of freedom, a testament to the unwavering resistance to independence. The Battle of Saratoga, starvation and disease, signifying the birth of a new nation, with the revolution are still visible, serving as a reminder of colonial life, tainting the air with a palpable sense of rebellion. The murmurs of an impending revolution started to amplify, reverberating through the animated cities and serene farmlands alike, uniting the colonists in their shared sentiments. Each word of dissent, each small act of defiance served as a seed, planting the roots of what we now acknowledge as the American Revolution. As we travel further back in time, we arrive in the year 1765, A year would mark a significant milestone in the journey towards revolution. It was in this year that the British Parliament enacted the Stamp Act, imposing a tax on all paper documents in the colonies. This act was viewed as a blatant overstep of British authority, fueling the spark of rebellion in the hearts of the colonists. The Stamp Act was one among a series of British impositions that ignited the call for revolution. From the serene landscapes of New Hampshire to the bustling colonies of Georgia, the colonies united under a shared sentiment: no taxation without representation. This fervent outcry became a powerful challenge to the ethos of the British Empire, its echoes reaching across the Atlantic and instilling fear in the hearts of the British nobility. Fast forward to 3 years later, and the flames of rebellion blazed brighter with the Boston Tea Party. In December 1773, a group of colonists, masked as Mohawk Indians, defiantly boarded British ships and dumped 342 chests of tea into the Boston harbor. This audacious act of defiance was a symbolic rejection. It was a clear message to the Crown. The colonists were ready to fight for their rights, their freedom, and their future. The true landmark event, however, was yet to materialize. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. This was not just a document, it was a manifesto of freedom, a testament to the unwavering resolve of the American people. Meticulously drafted by Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration was a direct challenge to the British Crown. It not only asserted the colonies' independence, but it also championed the inalienable rights of every individual, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The revolution was about more than just words and declarations. It was a series of battles, each an indelible mark on the path to independence. The Battle of Saratoga, fought in 1777, signaled a turning point in the war. The American forces' triumph in Saratoga convinced France to formally recognize the colonies and provide much-needed support in their fight against Britain. The winter of 1777 to 78 at Valley Forge was one of the most brutal periods of the war. The Continental Army, under the leadership of General George Washington, faced freezing temperatures, starvation, and disease. Despite these hardships, the men emerged stronger, their resolve hardened by their shared struggle. The Battle of Yorktown in 1781 marked the final major military confrontation. British Army, defeated and demoralized, surrendered to the combined American and French forces. But the official end of the war did not come until 2 years later, with the signing of the Treaty of Paris. This seminal agreement recognized the sovereignty of the United States, signifying the birth of a new nation. With the signing of the Treaty of Paris, America emerged victorious, forever altering the global landscape. The American Revolution was not just a war. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of the American people and their commitment to their ideals. The revolution left an enduring legacy, shaping the world we live in today, echoing the sentiments of freedom, liberty, and democracy. The footprints of this revolution are still visible, serving as a reminder of the power of unified people, ready to fight for their beliefs, their rights, and their independence. The war was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. Territory unexplored, a challenge that was and an unwavering resolve, crafting the Constitution to tackle these intricate issues. However, the subsequent step was its execution. Progress. A nation under construction. The challenges, making them more inclusive, more responsive, more slowly exposing the shape of a nation within. In growth, when a collection of disparate states morphed into being instructed to create a masterpiece. It was a territory unexplored, a challenge that was exhilarating, yet intimidating. Each of the 13 colonies, now independent states, came with their distinct cultures, economies, and political philosophies. The task was to weave these diverse elements into a harmonious, cohesive entity. The preliminary task was drafting the Constitution. This manuscript was the guiding light, the architectural framework on which this emerging nation would be constructed. It was a mission of utmost significance, steeped in idealism, pragmatism, and an unwavering resolve. Crafting the Constitution invoked intense discussions and clashes. These debates often revolved around the balance of power, representation, and the rights of citizens. Should authority be centralized or scattered amongst the states? What should form the basis of representation, population, wealth, or equality amongst states? What rights should be accorded to individuals, and how should these rights be? These were intellectual challenges that necessitated the Founding Fathers to tackle these intricate issues. However, after several months of rigorous discussion, negotiation, and compromise, an exceptional manuscript was conceived. The Constitution was a paragon of equilibrium and foresight, laying the groundwork for a democratic administration and enshrining the principles of liberty, equality, and justice. It was a bold proclamation of a nascent nation's beliefs and aspirations. The formulation of the Constitution was merely the initial step. The subsequent step was its execution, creating a functioning government from the ground up. This was a task laden with numerous challenges. Issues such as economic instability, territorial disputes, as well as the lingering wounds of war and simmering tensions between the states, required navigation. These issues were not just practical but ideological, serving as a test to the principles and values embedded in the Constitution. In these nascent years, the United States was akin to a painting in progress, a nation under construction. The challenges were a ship through a squall, but perseverance, ingenuity, and an unshakable belief in a brighter future triumphed. The United States began finding its footing, establishing a stable economy, instituting financial organizations, and formulating economic policies that fostered growth and affluence. It began expanding its borders, creating a wide territory that stretched from coast to coast. It began refining its democratic processes, making them more inclusive, more responsive, more reflective of the people's will. Naturally, there were hurdles and difficulties. Errors were committed, lessons were learned, and course corrections were made. It was a journey of an error, of learning and evolution. As each year passed, the nation became stronger and more united. It was a period of profound transformation and growth, an era of evolution and maturation. In this formation period, the United States resembled delicately carving a rough block of marble, slowly exposing the shape of a nation within. It was an intricate process, necessitating patience, precision, and a clear vision. Every strike of the chisel represented a decision made, a law enacted, a conflict resolved, a challenge surmounted. Each piece of marble removed was a stride forward, an indicator of progress, a tribute to the nation's resilience and resolve. And with each passing year, the form of the nation became more distinct, more defined, more recognizable. It was a time of substantial transformation and growth when a collection of disparate states morphed into a united nation. A nation with a shared identity, a common objective, a shared destiny. A nation that, despite its growing pains, was slowly but surely finding its place on the world stage. The United States, though struggling with growing pains, was on its way to becoming a world power. A country divided cannot stand. Tragic clash of siblings that ripped apart the national tapestry. The chasm between the two sides kept widening. It saw North and South locked in a bitter struggle. The site of Appomattox Courthouse holds significant history. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation, the deep social and economic wounds that took many years into the Union. The Civil War, 1861 to 1865, this war was a battle between the northern and southern states. A tragic clash of siblings that ripped apart the national tapestry. The factors that precipitated the eruption of the Civil War were complex and multifarious. At the core was a deep-seated disagreement concerning the institution of slavery. The southern states, with their agrarian economy heavily dependent on the labor of enslaved individuals, were at odds with the northern states. The North, experiencing a surge in urbanization and industry, was witnessing growing moral opposition to slavery. The chasm between the two sides kept widening, leading to an unavoidable military confrontation. The progression of the Civil War was marked by multiple significant battles that have been inscribed indelibly into the chronicles of American history. The initial gunfire of this intense war was heard at Fort Sumter, a key Union base located deep within the Confederacy. The bombardment marked the onset of a gruesome war that would endure for half a decade. The ensuing days saw North and South locked in a bitter struggle, with no inclination towards surrender or compromise. The Battle of Gettysburg is often considered the turning point of the war. It was here that Union forces halted the Confederate incursion into Northern territory. The iconic clash unfolded over 3 critical days in July 1863 and demonstrated the Union's unwavering resolve. The scene was a chilling display of carnage and devastation that left a lasting impression on all who witnessed it. The site of Appomattox Courthouse holds significant historic value as the location where Confederate General Robert E. Lee capitulated to Union General Ulysses S. Grant. This was a significant incident, a symbolic end to the war that effectively concluded the conflict that had ripped the nation apart. It was a moment of relief, albeit marred by the mourning of lost lives and the aftermath of destruction. In the throes of this tumultuous conflict, President Abraham Lincoln made a historical impact. In 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring slaves in Confederate-held territories to be free. Although this did not lead to an immediate end to slavery, it added a moral dimension to the Union cause that was previously missing. This proclamation shifted the war from a dispute over reunification to a struggle for human freedom. The Civil War was characterized by its brutality, destruction, and the massive loss of life. Unprecedented in American history, countless families were torn apart by the conflict. The war inflicted deep social and economic wounds that took many years to heal. However, from the ashes of this dire conflict rose a transformative shift in American society, the abolition of slavery. With the cessation of the war began a new phase in American history, known as the Reconstruction era. This was a time of extensive changes in the political, social, and economic life of the South. The region, reeling from the impacts of the war, was faced with the daunting task of rebuilding and reintegrating into the Union. The Civil War, brutal and transformative period, left an indelible mark on American history. This war compelled the nation to face its deepest divisions, to challenge long-held beliefs, and to redefine the concepts of freedom and equality. The echoes of this conflict continue to resonate throughout the archives of American history, serving as a solemn reminder of a time when the nation was torn asunder. The United States was about to enter a period of rapid change and that would forever reshape the American landscape. At the forefront of this revolutionary transfer, it also witnessed a surge in mass immigration. Cities began to expand at a pace never seen before, a real powerhouse. Yet this period of rapid growth, despite these challenges, the Industrial Revolution was a participant. It was a leader. Leading challenges is possible. It was a testament to advancements and a substantial societal transformation that would forever reshape the American landscape. In a spectacular scene reminiscent of mushrooms blooming in a dense forest, factories began to take over the American landscape. These architectural giants with their towering chimneys and imposing structures, started to dominate the horizon, their ceaseless activity signified by the dense clouds of smoke they emitted. These factories were not just buildings. They were the beating heart of the Industrial Revolution, tirelessly producing goods in quantities that were previously unimaginable. At the forefront of this revolutionary transformation was the textile industry. For this sector, the Industrial Revolution brought an array of innovative inventions, from the power loom to the spinning jenny and the cotton gin. These inventions were not just machines, they were symbols of change, new beginnings, and progress. They were catalysts propelling the United States onto the global stage as a viable contender. The ramifications of the Industrial Revolution were not confined to factories and in machinery. This period also witnessed a surge in mass immigration. Individuals from around the globe, particularly Europe, were lured to the United States by the promise of employment opportunities and the prospect of a more prosperous. These immigrants, each with their unique cultural traditions, values, and beliefs, flocked to the rapidly expanding cities, creating a multicultural mosaic that made cities vibrant, diverse melting pots. As the population surged, so too did the pace of urbanization. Cities began to expand at a pace never seen before, with new buildings, roads, and infrastructure materializing at an astonishing rate. The cities of the United States, once quiet and tranquil, soon became bustling metropolises. The rural landscapes gradually faded into the background as urban jungles sprouted in their place. People left the in droves to seek opportunities in these rapidly expanding cities, transforming the United States from a predominantly agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse. Yet this period of rapid growth and industrialization was not its drawbacks. As the United States transitioned into an industrial superpower, the gap between the rich and the poor widened dramatically. The burgeoning wealth disparity became a significant concern, as factory workers were often subjected to harsh, hazardous working conditions. The environment also suffered as industrial waste polluted the air and water, causing severe environmental degradation. Despite these challenges, the Industrial Revolution was a defining period for the United States. It was a time when the nation evolved from a primarily agrarian society to an industrial juggernaut. The United States became a country that did not merely adapt to change, it drove the change. This shift was not only monumental on a national scale, but its repercussions echoed around the globe. America's transformation served as a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. In this revolution, the United States was not just a participant, it was a leader, leading the charge for future industrial nations. The Industrial Revolution propelled the United States into a new era of prosperity and power. Amidst trials and tribulations, the nation emerged stronger, resilient, and ready to embrace the future. While the revolution was not perfect, it held a mirror to society, reflecting both its strengths and weaknesses. It demonstrated that progress, though messy and fraught with challenges, is possible. It was a testament to the unyielding spirit of humanity, reminding us that we are capable of achieving great things. We persevere, innovate, and strive for a better future. This was the essence of the Industrial Revolution, a period of unparalleled growth and change that forever imprinted its mark on the world. From a decade of prosperity to an era of economic with a sense of vitality, optimism, and imagination, as nation moved to the rhythmic tempos of automobile and the radio transformed the way people live, calamity were being planted. The wealth was unevenly economy, marking the beginning of the Great Depression. The great people banded together to survive, sharing whatever little systems. They emphasized the potential for growth and a stout social safety net. The great and social blossoming. It was a period bursting with a sense of vitality, optimism, and imaginative creativity. Jazz music, a revolutionary genre, swept across the country like a wildfire. It introduced a fresh beat to the American pulse, becoming the backdrop to a rapidly evolving era where flappers, young women who dared to challenge conventional norms with their audacious fashion choices and behaviors, came to the forefront. Furthermore, the figures of bootleggers and speakeasies emerged as common symbols of the decade's defiant spirit. As nation moved to the rhythmic tempos of the Charleston and the Lindy Hop, traditional social norms were being overthrown and boundaries redrawn. It was a decade filled with ceaseless joy, a celebration of life after the gloom of World War I. The 20s were also distinguished by an unparalleled economic explosion. The economy thrived in ways that sometimes seemed too magical to be real. It appeared as though the party would never end, the music would never stop. Technological innovations such as the automobile and the radio transformed the way people lived, worked. The world was changing at an unprecedented speed, and the American dream seemed to be just around the corner. This economic boom fueled a surge in consumer spending and stock market investment, fostering an environment saturated with prosperity and optimism. Cities expanded, businesses prospered, and the American people basked in the glow of material success. Yet beneath this shining facade of wealth and prosperity, the seeds of a disastrous calamity were being planted. The wealth was unevenly distributed, leading to a growing divide between the affluent and the impoverished. A worrying number of Americans were living beyond their means, reliant on credit. The stock market, buoyed by reckless speculation and a feeling of invincibility, stood on precarious grounds. The bubble finally burst in October 1929. A slight push was all it took for the stock market to crash, pushing the nation into an age of economic desperation. The shockwave spread through the economy, marking the beginning of the Great Depression. The Great Depression was a time of incredible hardship. Unemployment rates skyrocketed, banks failed, and millions of ordinary Americans found themselves in severe economic situations. The glitz and glamour of the Roaring Twenties faded into the grim reality of soup kitchens, breadlines, and widespread poverty. The roaring party had ended, and the hangover was devastating. Yet it was also a period of significant resilience. Amid the adversity, the American spirit shone through. People banded together to survive, sharing whatever little they had. Communities forged strong bonds of support and solidarity. The government also rose to the occasion. President Franklin D. Roosevelt implemented the New Deal, a series of reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy and providing relief to the suffering masses. These measures played a crucial role in shaping the future of the United States. In many ways, the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression serve as a reminder of the cyclical nature of economic systems. They emphasize the potential for growth, the inevitability of downturns, and the crucial role of stable, equitable wealth distribution. Most significantly, They highlight the crucial role of government in safeguarding the economy and the welfare of its citizens. These historical events provide a stark lesson on the dangers of unregulated speculation and the fragility of economic prosperity. The importance of sound policies, responsible fiscal practices, and a stout social safety net. The Great Depression marked a period of hardship and resilience in American history. It was a time that put the American spirit to the ultimate test and shaped the nation's future in far-reaching ways. It serves as a powerful reminder of our past and a warning for our future. The United States found itself drawn into a conflict that spanned. However, this position swiftly proved untenable. This critical decision marked the commencement of its industrial infrastructure underwent a complete metamorphosis. The valor, audacity, and persistence precipitated Japan's surrender and signaled and initiating the ambitious Marshall Plan to reconstruct its economic structure and its societal fabrics. Adopted a policy of neutrality, a prudent approach designed to evade the turmoil and ravages of war. However, this position swiftly proved untenable due to unexpected events. The unanticipated onslaught on Pearl Harbor by Japanese forces on the 7th of December 1941 served as a dire wake-up call. This unprovoked act of hostility, which claimed more than 2,000 American lives, hurled the nation headlong into the tumultuous vortex of global warfare. In response to this unparalleled act of belligerence, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued a declaration of war against Japan. This critical decision marked the commencement of America's direct engagement in the Second World War. The gravity of this resolution, with its far-reaching implications, was not underestimated. It was perceived as a necessary measure to safeguard the nation's liberty, preserve its democratic principles, and guarantee the security of its populace. As the war waged, the United States marshaled its considerable resources, implementing crucial strategic modifications to fulfill the exigencies of war. Its industrial infrastructure underwent a complete metamorphosis to accommodate the production demands of wartime. From tanks and airplanes to weaponry and indispensable supplies, products were manufactured on an unparalleled scale. American factories worked ceaselessly, contributing significantly to the Allied war effort, and were a testament to the nation's remarkable industrial might. The American military had a pivotal role in the conflict. Its critical involvement was evident on numerous fronts across both Europe and the Pacific. The valor, audacity, and persistence of American soldiers, sailors, and airmen played a crucial part in swinging the pendulum of the war in favor of the Allies. In 1945, the United States made a decision that would forever alter the trajectory of history. It had been clandestinely atomic weapons under the moniker Project Manhattan. In August of that year, 2 atomic bombs were unleashed upon the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This cataclysmic event precipitated Japan's surrender and signaled the termination of World War II. In the aftermath of the war, the United States ascended to the status of a global superpower. This newfound dominance was not merely a reflection of its military strength, but also a testament to its economic fortitude and significant political clout. The nation assumed a leadership role in the reinvention of the global landscape, playing an instrumental part in the establishment of a fresh world order, laying the foundation for the United Nations, and initiating the ambitious Marshall Plan to reconstruct a devastated Europe. The totality of these factors contributed to the evolution of the United States into a global superpower. The repercussions of World War II were profound, molding the nation's destiny and redefining its global role. The sacrifices, resilience, and the united effort of the American populace during this period were critical to this achievement. The war's legacy permeated the nation's policies, its economic structure, and its societal fabric for many decades subsequent to the conflict. World War II had a profound impact, shaping the states into a global superpower. It was a period of formidable challenge and transformation, a defining instant that set the course of the nation's history. A new kind of war was on the horizon, of course, the United States and the Soviet Union. It was a war where ideas and ideologies were the weapons. In this global game of power, the world was the cheese. The launch of the Soviet satellite Sputnik, it was also dealing with major issues domestically. Also a time of profound change and growth for the United States, creating a more robust, better, beginning to fade when 2 nations emerged from the ashes. These were not victors or vanquished, but superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Both of these nations found themselves standing on the world stage, each carrying its ideological banner. The United States championed democracy, while Soviet Union stood for communism. This sharp contrast in their socio-political systems sparked an unprecedented global conflict. This was a war unlike any other. The physical battlegrounds of previous world wars were replaced by political chessboards, diplomatic negotiations, and proxy confrontations. It was a war where ideas and ideologies were the weapons, and the minds of people across the globe became the real battlefield. It was a struggle for influence, for power, for control, and for dominance. The term Cold War was first used by the esteemed author George Orwell. It served as an apt metaphor for the frosty relations between the United States and the Soviet Union during this period. The years from 1947 to 1991 saw these two superpowers locked in a bitter and tense standoff. In this global game of power, the world was the chessboard. The United States and the Soviet Union, the two chess players, sought to outmaneuver each other strategically, diplomatically. They were not merely aiming to win, but also to prevent the other from gaining a victory. The stakes were astronomical, and the tension was palpable. One of the significant chapters of the Cold War was the space race. This was a head-to-head competition between the United States and the Soviet Union for supremacy in spaceflight capabilities. The launch of the Soviet satellite Sputnik in 1957 served as a wake-up call for the United States. It spurred a renewed emphasis on science, technology, and education in the country. This race reached its zenith in 1969 when American astronaut Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. This marked a significant victory for the United States in the space race, symbolizing technological prowess. Yet while the United States was aiming for the stars, it was also dealing with major issues domestically. The civil rights movement, a fight for social justice for African Americans, was gaining momentum. This era witnessed the enactment of milestone legislation such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These laws sought to abolish racial discrimination in the country and secure the voting rights of African Americans. Despite the heated rivalry with the Soviet Union, the Cold War era was also a time of profound change and growth for the United States. This period saw the nation pushing the boundaries of technological innovation while also making significant strides towards social justice. The United States was evolving and growing, not just technologically but also socially, economically, and politically. The Cold War era, marked by tension, played a crucial role in shaping the modern United States. This wasn't just a conflict about outmaneuvering the Soviet Union. It was also about creating a more robust, better, and fairer nation. The Cold War era was a defining period in the history of the United States, a time that has significantly influenced the nation it is today. The Cold War era, marked by tension and transformation, shaped the modern United States. As we entered the new millennium, the United States, navigating and adjusting to the rapid changes brought on by the digiges of commercial airliners taken over by terrorism, both at home and abroad. Security agencies sent shockwaves around the globe. With the United States in 2008, Barack Obama was elected the 44th president. Blockchain and renewable energy. It seemed to shape the nation's path. It's a riveting international. In the early days of the new millennium, life was ordinary. The nation was busy navigating and adjusting to the rapid changes brought on by the digital revolution. The internet was becoming a commonplace commodity. New companies were sprouting like mushrooms, and the economy seemed to be booming. Yet, this tranquility was fleeting. In September of 2001, the unimaginable happened. The September 11th attacks, a catastrophic event, shook the nation to its core, causing widespread panic, grief, and an unprecedented sense of vulnerability. The shocking images of commercial airliners taken over by terrorists crashing into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon would be forever embedded in our collective memories. The smoke billowing from the Twin Towers represented not just the physical destruction, but the shattering of a sense of security that Americans had comforted themselves with. The repercussions of this tragic day extended far beyond the immediate loss of life and destruction of property. In reaction, the United States launched a prolonged and sustained campaign against terrorism, both at home and abroad. Security agencies were overhauled. New laws and policies were put in place, all in a bid to ensure that such an incident would never recur. The ripples of this single day have since continued to affect our society. shaping our foreign policies, domestic security measures, and our collective consciousness as a nation. The trials for the United States, however, were far from over. Less than a decade later, it faced another humongous challenge, this time of an economic nature. The financial crisis of 2008 sent shockwaves around the globe, with the United States at the epicenter. Wall Street, once a symbol of America's financial prowess, witnessed the crumbling of its giants. Unemployment rates soared, and many hardworking Americans lost their homes. This catastrophe served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our global economy and the vulnerability of seemingly invincible financial institutions. Amidst these tumultuous events, the nation marked a significant milestone. In 2008, Barack Obama was elected the 44th President of the United States, becoming the first African American to hold the office. His election was not just a marker in the political landscape, but a significant milestone in the nation's complicated history of racial relations. It was a beacon of progress and a testament to the potency of the American dream. Through these trials and triumphs, the United States has continued to evolve and adapt. The 21st century has witnessed the rise of new, like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and renewable energy. It's seen changing demographics due to increased immigration and an aging population. The global landscape, too, has shifted with the emergence of new world powers and critical issues like climate change and cybersecurity. Despite the challenges, the spirit of the American people remains unbroken. Their resilience, their determination to overcome adversity, and their unwavering belief in the American dream continue to shape the nation's path. It's a riveting, if sometimes time to be alive, as we step forward into the future. The history of the United States continues to unfold, a testament to the enduring strength and spirit of its people. The United States, a country born out of revolution and forming the basis of what would become the United States, is imposed by a distant monarch. This game was put to the test during the Civil War, with brother against the rapid pace of industrialization brought with it numerous of its status as a global superpower. For each passing day, the narrative European settlers came. Each tribe had a unique culture, traditions, and language. They wove a rich tapestry of stories across the continent, forming the basis of what would become the United States. A land that was shaped by the hands of its original, echoing 1,000 years of their wisdom and traditions. The 15th century marked the arrival of the European settlers, igniting a new era of exploration and expansion. Drawn by tales of a land draped with opportunities, they spread across the continent, their influence gradually blending into the fabric of the land. As the colonial rule persisted, resentment grew among the colonies against restrictive laws and taxes imposed by a distant monarch. This gave birth to a revolutionary spirit, a spirit that sparked a wave of revolt, leading to the birth of a new nation, the United States. The formation of this new nation wasn't easy. It was a period filled with intense debates, confrontations, and compromises. The new nation was built on the pillars of liberty and democracy, the belief in the freedom of every individual and power of governance belonging to the people. The unity of this fledgling nation was put to the test during the Civil War, with brother against brother, state against state. The very ideals upon which the nation was built were challenged. Emerging from ashes of this conflict was a scarred but stronger nation, reaffirming its commitment to the ideals of liberty and equality. The end of the Civil War led to an era of industrial revolution. The United States transformed into a global powerhouse, with factories springing up across the nation, cities reaching out to the sky, and a network of railways connecting the nation. The rapid pace of industrialization brought with it numerous challenges, but the resilience of the American people shone through. The Roaring '20s, a period of prosperity, was followed by the Great Depression, testing the resilience of the American people. However, they weathered the storm, emerging from economic ruin, spirit unbroken. The United States played a crucial role in World War II. The nation's industrial might was utilized for the war effort, producing an abundance of tanks, planes, and ships. This marked the beginning of its status as a global superpower, further solidified during the Cold War era. The United States continues to evolve as we step into a new century, facing new challenges and embracing new opportunities. The upcoming challenge is as diverse as the nation itself, but there is a spirit of optimism and resilience in the American character that is enduring. The history of the United States is a testament to the resilience and spirit of its people, a story that continues to be written with each passing day. The narrative of a nation that rose from a revolution, faced struggles, celebrated victories, and still stands as a beacon of democracy freedom. As we venture into the future, we do so with the lessons of our past guiding us, the spirit of our people inspiring us, and the promise of our nation uplifting us. The American story is far from over. It is a story that is as vibrant, diverse, and enduring as the nation itself.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about income tax. What is it? Why do we have it? Is it good or bad? Should the United States get rid of it? And if so, what are the pros and cons? So let's talk about that. So income tax is a tax that you pay on your earnings. So if you work for a company, they withhold a certain amount from your paycheck and send it to the government. Now this only started in 1913 when they passed the 16th Amendment. Before that, all the money that the government made was from tariffs and other taxes. But they were looking for a way to make more money, so they passed a law that everyone had to pay income tax. Now this didn't start out very high, it was only 1%, but as the years went on, it got higher and higher and higher, and now we're at a point where if you make $500,000 a year, you're paying 37% of that to the government. Now the people who receive this money say that it's to help the country, that it goes to schools and roads and the military. But the thing is, if you look at the Constitution, it doesn't say anything about an income tax. So a lot of people are saying, why should we have to pay this? We're already paying other taxes. We pay sales tax when we buy things. We pay property tax when we own property. And if we use a product, there's an excise tax on that. So why do we also have to pay income tax? Well, the thing is, it's a good thing for the country to have an income tax. Here's why. Number one, everyone who works pays this tax, so it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you pay the exact same percentage. Now, the second reason is because everyone benefits from the government. We all use the roads, we all use the schools, we all use the military, and if we didn't have an income tax, they wouldn't be able to fund these things. So it's only fair that we pay a little bit of money to help the country. But here's the problem. A lot of people don't like paying this income tax. They think it's unfair. And if the government didn't have this, they would find another way to get money. Now, some people say maybe we could get rid of it and just have a flat tax on everything, like a sales tax. But the problem with that is sales tax only gets the government money when you buy something. Most people aren't buying things all the time, so it wouldn't bring in enough money. Others say we should get rid of the income tax and just have a tax on how much money you have in the bank. But the problem with that is that doesn't bring in any money. If you have $100,000 in the bank, you pay 1% tax on that. Well, the first income tax in the US was actually an import tax on incomes from foreign trade, which was passed in 1794. Then in 1861, during the Civil War, Congress passed a tax on incomes from all sources as a way to help pay for the war. That tax was supposed to be temporary, but it ended up being repealed only 22 years later in 1881. Then in 1913, the 16th Amendment was ratified, which allowed for a federal income tax. And ever since then, we've had an income tax except for a few years during and after World War II when it was temporarily suspended. Let's talk about some of the benefits of having an income tax. First, it would bring in a lot of money. In 2020, the federal government took in about $3.4 trillion in individual income tax revenue. If we had an income tax, we could use that money to fund all sorts of public services like public schools and education. Programs, healthcare programs like Medicaid and Medicare, Social Security and retirement benefits, and a whole host of other programs that we currently don't have the money to fund. For example, we could use some of that money to improve our national defense and security by funding the military, homeland security, and emergency response programs. We could also use it to support economic stability and public programs like unemployment benefits and welfare programs. And we could even use some of that money to invest in research, technology, and innovation. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a minute, where will the government get the money to replace that income tax revenue? Well, the answer is clear. The government will get the money by taxing the people. Either they'll do it through an income tax, which is what we're talking about here, or they'll do it through other taxes like property taxes, sales taxes, or payroll taxes. And of course, we, the taxpayers, will end up footing the bill. So why should you care about this issue? As taxpayers, we should care because we want to ensure our money is being spent wisely. If the government is going to take our money, whether through taxes or fees, we want to make sure that it's being used to provide us with valuable services and to fund programs that we actually care about. Why do most developed countries have an income tax? Well, it's pretty simple. It's a way to fund the government and provide for the basic needs of its citizens. For example, income tax helps to pay for public schools and education programs, healthcare programs like Medicaid and Medicare, and retirement benefits through Social Security. What are the disadvantages for the country if we don't have an income tax? Well, it puts a greater burden on those who are already struggling. It also creates a less equitable society and can lead to decreased economic mobility for low-income earners. Additionally, it can result in underfunded public services and infrastructure, which can negatively impact the quality of life for all citizens. Why should you, the taxpayer, care about this topic? Well, the way that the government is funded and the level of taxation can have a direct impact on your wallet. It can affect the amount of money you have to pay in taxes and ultimately the amount of money you have left over to spend or save. So how will the government get the money to replace income tax? One way is through consumption taxes such as sales tax and value-added tax. These taxes are levied on the purchase of goods and services. Another way is through property taxes, which are based on the value of a person's home or other real estate. However, relying solely on these forms of taxation can be problematic. For example, sales and property taxes are regressive, meaning that they disproportionately affect lower income earners who tend to spend a greater proportion of their income on necessities. In addition to funding essential services, income tax also plays a significant role in funding our national defense and security. It provides the resources necessary to fund the military, homeland security, and emergency response programs. This is crucial for protecting our country from external threats and ensuring the safety and well-being of our citizens. Another benefit of income tax is that it helps to stabilize the economy. During economic downturns, income tax revenues may decline while social safety net programs see increased demand. This can put a strain on government budgets, but having an income tax in place can help mitigate these challenges by providing a more stable and reliable source of revenue. Additionally, income tax can be used to fund public investments in research, technology, and innovation, which can drive economic growth and improve the standard of living for all citizens. While income tax has many benefits, it's important to acknowledge that it can also be a high tax burden for some individuals and businesses. The United States has a progressive tax system, which means that those who earn more income pay a higher percentage in taxes. This can be seen as unfair or burdensome by some, particularly those who are already struggling to make ends meet. Additionally, higher tax rates can discourage investment and entrepreneurship, which can impact economic growth. Now, it turns out that the United States isn't the only country that has an income tax. Actually, over 170 countries have some form of income tax. In fact, most developed nations have a system of income tax, but there are also some countries like Monaco, for example, that don't charge any income tax at all. For example, income tax helps fund public schools and education programs. It also funds healthcare programs like Medicaid and Medicare, and it supports Social Security and retirement benefits for eligible individuals. So one of the main reasons why most countries have an income tax is to ensure that their citizens and residents pay their fair share to support the country and its people. This helps fund essential public services and programs that benefit everyone. It also ensures that everyone contributes based on their ability to pay. After all, those who earn more can typically contribute more without undue hardship. Now, one of the biggest reasons why income tax is collected is to fund Social Security for retirees. In fact, Social Security is a social insurance program that provides monthly payments to retired workers and their spouses and survivors. However, it is a pay-as-you-go program, which means that current workers' contributions fund the benefits paid to retirees, and these benefits are not funded from general tax revenue. Income tax makes up about 3/5 of the Social Security program's funding, and the rest comes from other sources like payroll tax on employers. But Social Security is not the only program that income tax helps fund. It also provides benefits for disabled individuals and the survivors of deceased workers. Income tax also funds our national defense and security. It pays for funding for the military, homeland security, and emergency response programs. An income tax also helps fund economic stability and public programs like unemployment benefits, food stamps, welfare programs, and more. These programs help those who are unable to work or who have lost their jobs to have a safety net to fall back on. Now, while an income tax does help fund many important programs, it can be a burden for some people, especially higher income earners and some businesses. For example, in the United States, the top 1% of earners pay about 34% of their income in federal taxes, which includes income tax, Social Security, and Medicare, and small businesses face various tax obligations like income tax, payroll tax, and self-employment tax. These high tax rates can discourage investment and entrepreneurship, which can impact economic growth. Another disadvantage of an income tax is that there is a risk of misuse or inefficiency in government spending. When the government collects tax money, it can sometimes be spent inefficiently or wasted on projects that don't benefit the public. This can lead to a growing national debt and less money available for important programs. Now, a significant disadvantage of income tax is its complexity. The tax code is complicated and ever-changing, which can make it difficult for individuals and businesses to understand their tax obligations. This complexity also leads to a lot of paperwork and record keeping, which can be time-consuming and expensive, and many people need to hire accountants or use tax preparation services to ensure that they are paying the correct amount of tax. And another disadvantage of income tax is the potential for tax evasion. Some individuals and corporations may try to avoid paying their fair share by exploiting loopholes and engaging in tax-avoiding activities. This not only reduces government revenue, but it also creates an uneven playing field for businesses that comply with tax laws. Now, before we wrap up, I just want to say that there are strong opinions on both sides of this issue. Some people believe that income tax is a necessary evil to fund essential programs and ensure that everyone pays their fair share, while others argue that it is a burden on individuals and businesses and can lead to economic inefficiency. So there you have it. Those are some of the pros and cons of not having an income tax here in the United States of America. What do you think? Is income tax fair, or is it a burden on taxpayers? Let me know your thoughts down below. Also, don't forget to support the channel. It really helps out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. As always, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.